Good morning, guys. Hope you're doing well today. I'm Taffany, and I want to welcome you into my garden here in Spring, Texas. This is Tika's Gardens, and today I am going to work in this back border. I call it the long border, and I haven't done much in it. I've stuck some plants here and there in it, but we're going to get it cleaned up. I'm going to show you kind of what I have done already, what some problems are, and I'm going to do a little planting today as well. So let me show you first what I have that I want to get planted, and then I'm going to show you what's going on back there, and we're going to address all those issues. All right, let's get going. All right, guys, I have herbs. And if you've been following me, you know that I like to have medicinal herbs, herbs that can be used for cooking and, for health if needed. So let me tell you about what I have. And I'm going to give you a little information, but I'm going to stick what I can on the screen for, to help you out for those who are interested. This is a Gatu Kola, and this is a pretty old ancient herb from Asia. And it grows like a ground cover. And what I did learn about it as far as its growth habit is that it can be invasive in areas that are hot and humid. So here in Houston, that fits the criteria. So I'm going to put this in a pot so that it doesn't get out of control. But the benefits of this plant I'm going to stick on the screen here. My next one that I have is lavage or lovage. I've heard it pronounced both ways. This plant grows 4 to 6 feet tall and 2 to 3 feet wide, and it is like a combination of parsley and celery. And it is a perennial herb, so it will come back, and it is cold tolerant to zone 5, I believe. But this has a lot of medicinal benefits as well, which I will stick on the screen. But it is used for cooking. It has a little bit more of a stronger taste, they say, than celery and the parsley, and but it's very flavorful, and it seems like it's used in a lot of places. And also, this is another old ancient herb that was used in Ayurvedics, from what I've learned. So I have one of these. And last, hang on, but not least, something that most people know about, bergamot or bee balm. This grows up to 36 inches tall, so basically 3 feet, and it has really, really pretty pink flowers on it. And bergamot is used in hair care products. It's used, I know that there's a bergamot scent oil. I have to look and see if this is where they get the scented oil from. But it's used for a lot of things. And when I make some of my hair products, I actually add bergamot in it. So it says that it attracts hummingbirds. I'm gonna plant this likely over here in the back border, as well as the lavage. I have to find somewhere to put it. But anyway, those are the herbs that I have. So I am going to take you back here now so you can see the hot mess that's going on. I have done some organizing and straightening up off camera because I love to work in the garden without recording. You just want to be out and hear the birds and enjoy, the peace and the quiet. So I get out a lot and I work off camera. And so I'll show you what I have done so far. So let's head back that way. Okay, guys, as I walk my new path, we come to the back here. The purple fountain grass is growing and doing great. The sunshine ligustrum is doing good, and all of my lamb's ear look great. I have rosemary, which we have been cutting on a lot for cooking as well. The yarrow, we've got an echinacea coming up back there. We have the Blue Point juniper. I have this empty space here. You might recognize that that is where one of the lilies were, the big tall orange lilies, fulva lilies. I have dug the lilies out, and I dug the onion out of here. And before I go further, let me show you. This is where I have stacked my grasses and my onions for right now. So, right here I have a gaillardia. It has actually been blooming non-stop since it woke up, kind of. So it's been performing well. But what I would like to put here, where the fulva lily was, is a shrub. I think a shrub here in front of a shorter shrub, that is, not something that's going to grow very, very tall, maybe no more than 3 or 4 feet, but a mini shrub right here I think would be great. This is my sweet basil. Here is the oregano. We are going to be pruning back the oregano. You'll notice a lot of weeds in here. Well, not a lot, but enough to annoy me. We're going to get those. You will see them here along the edge. We have to get the weeds up. We're going to trim back. I like to let my oregano bloom. I love the little white flowers on it, but it does get kind of raggedy and it just covers stuff, so I'm going to trim it back. The coreopsis grouping here is doing well. We have a rudbeckia right here, and this spot where I removed the other fulva lily, which sits right in front of the centered Blue Point juniper. I think, imagine that the oregano has been trimmed back. There will be a good little empty space here. I think something here would be great. And I think maybe a Miss Lemon Abelia. So we have 4 on the other side of the garden, 2 in front of each window over there for a total of 4. And I think 1 here, giving it a 5, kind of, being on the other side, looking at each other. That might give a nice balance and tie this side to the rest of the garden. So I'm thinking that. The oregano that I pulled up a week ago or so from down on the other end of this long border, I put it here, and I'm going to trim it back. So in essence, there is an oregano in front of this knockout rose, and there is an oregano in front of this knockout rose, and I think a shrub here, a shrub here. So there is a low level of shrubs in front of the taller ones in the back. And I think if I moved the toothache plant and the Mexican tarragon, there could be a shrub here in front of this Blue Point juniper, so that it's kind of balanced. And here is a mess. I have been pulling off the dead leaves, just kind of piling them up there for right now. I don't know what happened to these. We had quite a bit of rain for a bit, and I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I have no idea. If anyone has ever had this issue with their lamb's ear before, tell me. I don't know if I should dig them up and get rid of them and just start fresh or what, but we can do some herbs here, like I'll figure it out, not sure, but herbs, plants, whatever. But yeah, but these could possibly be moved over here, leaving room for a shrub right there. Again, in the back there's some yarrow. There's another rudbeckia coming up that's sitting in front of this sunshine ligustrum. We've got rosemary. We've got calendula under the rosemary. Oregano here. So this oregano also needs to be pruned. We've got some dianthus. Of course, they can't take this heat, so they are pretty much done. I'm going to pull those up. I planted this in the fall. I got it off of the clearance rack for 50 cents. It is a purple angelonia. It was looking pretty sad, but I bought it anyway, planted it, and it is coming back. We've got thyme. So I'm thinking, the tag on the bergamot says that it can take wet soil, so I'm thinking maybe I can put the bergamot right here. Let me step back so you can get a perspective. You've got the oregano and stuff, so as we're coming along the curve right here in this spot, I'm thinking it can be put right there. And some of the herbs that I bought, like I said, the gatucola is going into a pot. The bergamot I could put there. The lavage, because it does get so tall, I'm thinking this grouping of flowers right here could possibly be moved. Keep in mind, I'm keeping this spot open because I want to put a fruit tree there. My husband has already decided what kind he wants, so I could possibly move this grouping of onions here and plant the lavage there, or I can move this grouping of flowers here. And I might end up moving the onions and putting the lavage right here so that it will have room to grow, and it will be right next to the plumbago. So that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do, but we definitely have to get this looking better. So I have started some cleanup, but we're going to prune the oregano, clean up this lamb's ear, plant a couple of the herbs, possibly, like I said, move the onion and put the lavage here. So that's what I'm thinking. I hate this part of gardening, the cleanup part, but let's see if we've got the energy to get it done before it gets hot. It's early in the morning. I got out here early while it's still in the 70s, so we can get this done without overheating. So let's get started. So guys, before I get started, when I went to go get my pruners and my gloves, I thought to myself, let me show you what these gloves look like. These have proven to be my favorite. No, I'm not sponsored today for these gloves. I just had to show you that they have held up so well. I don't know that I would use another brand. You know, I'm sure that there are some great ones out there, but these are doing so well. Yes, I use them a lot. They're showing some wear here and there, but if you like these gloves, guys, the link is below in the description box for the DLY brand gloves, and it will take you to their Amazon page. I'm telling you, these are probably some of the best gloves that I have used in the garden. I really like them. And the mosquito just bit me on my hand before I could even put my gloves on. Ah! But let's get to work. my little froggy that I apparently disturbed. Hi, Froggy, Froggy. Oh, you're gonna stand up? Hey, you standing up? All right, so I've pruned this oregano a little bit. And I have a place in the garage that I hang my herbs to dry them. So we use our herbs fresh and we have dried herbs. I got some of the weeds there. I have to get back there. And I have to get the other oregano, but let me show you this. We're hiding this morning, being nosy. She hears noise going on in one of the neighbors' yards, so she's being a nosy kitty cat today. All right, so let's trim some more and prune some more and pull a few weeds and get a few things planted. I may not get all of the weeds done today. I'll probably do a little section, like maybe this section today, maybe the middle in this middle section tomorrow, and the rest from this point on the next day, so I don't feel overwhelmed. But let's get these other oreganos pruned for now. Now I'm pruning this oregano even though it's not overgrown because it is stressed out a little bit from being moved. So I want to get the blooms off of it, get it a little lower so we can just focus on growing new leaves. All right, guys, I ended up doing with the weeds in the whole section. I didn't think I was gonna be able to get to it, but I did. So Let me just kind of show you what I did starting on this end near the courtyard. Here is where I am, near the courtyard. So I'm going to start with the sunshine ligustrum on this end and work my way across and show you what I've done. All right. The sunshine ligustrum, I pruned it on the bottom just to get some air under there and so the sprinkler can get to the base of it. I've pulled weeds. As you can see, I've got my piles scattered around that I have to pick up, so just ignore the piles. I have pruned this oregano, and for those of you who may be worried, this oregano and that oregano have been in this garden since before we moved in. When we moved in, it was here. For those of you who have followed me for quite a while, I mentioned to you that this was a raised bed. It had wood, like railroad ties, that were used. Let me show you. I have to get rid of them. But those are some of the leftover railroad ties right there. It was 2 or 3 layers high, but they rotted. They didn't last long after we moved in, so I got rid of it. And was it last season? Not last season, but last spring. I removed them, and that's been kind of sitting empty. What I just turned into the walkway since then. But these were inside of that bed along with a few other herbs, and the rest of the yard was like spots of grass and dirt. That's it. And this back section was just a narrow straight line bed with nothing in it. It was completely empty, just dirt. That's it. So this oregano has been here since, and what I just did to it, I have been doing to it since I moved in. It has survived and thrived. It has stayed green during the frosts. Nothing has taken it so far, and so it can take that kind of hacking. And I have actually cut it smaller than this at times, but I just pruned this off a little bit. That gives the rows some air, and it doesn't look so wild and scraggly. And this is the empty spot that I mentioned before that would be left over, that I thought a shrub could go in, like a Miss Lemonabilia, something like that. And then this oregano, which has been transplanted, it's showing little signs of stress, but it should bounce back. You can see that it's got baby growth down in there. So we want to promote that. And you can see my piles scattered in the beds and along the walkway. I will dry the oregano. As I said, I have something in the garage that I hang it on to let it dry. I have pruned this oregano. I have cleaned out underneath on that sunshine ligustrum as well. You can see my little pile back there, and then I got all the weeds up. So I'm going to clean up my mess, move my oregano, and start planting. And we're going to get this little gecko out of Tika's mouth. Tika, no, 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 no. All right, guys, well, I have everything cleaned up, and so now we need to take a look at how to plant. I gave you my ideas. I'm trying to step back and not step on the shovel and smack myself in the face. But I've given you the ideas that I had earlier of where to put shrubs and things like that back here, because I want this. I've seen some pictures of some long borders that are just lush and green, and yes, my things are all small right now. I can't afford to go buy already 10-foot tall blue point juniper or shrub or tree or whatever. I'm just a regular everyday gardener working with a limited budget. So I do what I can. But, you know, I have all the basic elements there. And once they grow, I will get that height. I just have to have the patience. But I'm going to stick a couple pictures in here to show you some borders that have impressed me. I want to try to achieve that, but in my way. I don't want to put any big trees in here. We just cut down a humongous tree not too long ago, which allowed us to make our vegetable garden. I don't want to put another big tree here, but you know, some smaller trees I could do, which is why I have gone with fruit trees, because if I'm going to put something here in the yard, it might as well be something that is not just going to have pretty flowers when it's in bloom, but also give us some food, because my husband would say, I can't eat that. You know, he was a little resistant to the vegetable garden and stuff at first, but once he saw the idea, he really got into it. And now he's kind of like, if we can't eat it, why are we putting it in the yard? So I want to kind of do the combination of, you know, herbs and things that we can cook with that are medicinal. And yes, I do use some of the herbs medicinally. I had chicory root, for example. And I, you know, harvested the roots and roasted them lightly and all that stuff, which I have in the house. You know, for those of you who are familiar with herbs, you know what chicory root does. For those of you who aren't, you know, one of its main components is inulin, which, you know, helps regulate blood sugar. And, you know, if you're a non-scientific person, that's my background, science and medicine. I have a degree in microbiology, and you know, I've done research, I've worked in medicine. So plants have some of the same components as humans. For example, we have cholesterol, they have phytosterols. We have insulin, they have inulin, those who produce it. Chicory root is one of the plants that produces it, and it is also a main component in a lot of diabetic medicines. You'll also see inulin as an ingredient in some foods that are like keto, low carb, low sugar type foods, like your ice creams and various things like that. Those are in there for the purposes of helping to control blood sugar. So it, you know, that's just an example. I'm just giving you one example. You know, one herb can have multiple different benefits. So that's just an example. That is why I like to have herbs in the garden. And so I want to achieve the lush green look with, you know, some shrubs, you know, my fruit trees and herbs, without, you know, I don't want to sacrifice having the foods and the cooking spices and things like that, and medicinal uses in the garden. So my style is one where I'm trying to have all of that and that beautiful garden with flowers and greenery of different shades and textures. So I'm trying to kind of do a combination of both and not just have one or the other. And that's what I want to accomplish with this back border. So, and of course the back border is not even, you know, it is not set up where it's perfectly even. Nothing in this yard is. Everything is a little bit off because of either a drain or sprinkler heads. So let me show you what I mean with this back border, for example. So when you look at this back border, you see it is each corner, one there, has a sunshine ligustrum. There's an airplane overhead, hang on. Okay, so you can see each side has a sunshine ligustrum that, you know, kind of catty corners with each fence, but there are a couple of sprinklers back there. One that kind of sits in this area near that Blue Point juniper, and one that sits in this open space here. And I try to keep them from not being completely covered up so that the water can reach everything. So that's one of the reasons why I have the lamb's ear there. It's lower, it doesn't inhibit it. I do have room to put something else back here, but I don't want it to be something that's going to block the water, so it would have to be something lower. but because of that, it's kind of off balance. We have that empty space there. And then we have the 3 Blue Point junipers and the roses and everything kind of more starting from here and heading that way. So the original plan that I talked about is one that could work. It could give it the appearance of balance. Or I can just plant this as is, free flowing, you know, without trying to balance it. And what I mean is, when I first originally was showing you what, you know, before I cleaned up the mess and pruned everything, I was saying right in front of this Blue Point juniper, I could put a little shrub right here. And then in front of this Blue Point juniper, I can put a shrub, something a little bit bigger, like, and I likened it to the idea of doing a Miss Lemonabilia to match these behind me. Let me swing around without making you dizzy. You see, flanking each window, there's 2 in front of each window of the Miss Lemonabilias, and they have these little white flowers when they bloom. So I thought about, because I already have one that I originally purchased to have in the backyard, and I didn't know where to put it, so I stuck it in the front for now. I could move that and fill in this spot right here. That would center it. And then whatever I use in front of this Blue Point juniper, I can get a match for it for right here in front of this Blue Point juniper. So this little section of junipers and roses itself could be slightly balanced, because I've got the oreganos in front of both roses. We've got the coreopsis here centered, along with Rudbeckia behind it centered. So that is an idea that we could do. And then of course, if we do the matching shrubs in front of the end Blue Point junipers, like we have this gaillardia in the front, we could have some shorter flowers in the front along with herbs mixed in, you know, all along this front area here. Right now I have my basil here. I just had a hiccup, sorry. But I have my basil here, and I don't want to move it. I know it's kind of sticking out, throwing off the balance, but you know, you stick things wherever at the time you have them when you don't know where to put them. But now that the garden is kind of coming along with a nice plan, I think at least this middle section could be balanced, and then the ends, like over here where the bird bath and the sunshine ligustrum can be a collection of flowers and herbs there, as well as on this end, a collection of flowers and herbs along this side. I think that's what I'm going to do. We'll put the Miss Lemonabilia in the center. I have a dwarf euonymus. I can put one here, and when I get my hands on a second dwarf euonymus, then at that time I can move these herbs, or I could move them today over here to this empty spot and just have them moved. And you know, it's still early in the summer, so I can keep them extra watered and, you know, really, you know, get them going along, you know, without struggling. And you know, if I wait and it's, you know, temps of 90s and 100s, it could be more stressful for them. So I think I'm going to move them today, leave that spot open for another dwarf euonymus, and then all the rest of the spots can be filled in with herbs and flowers and, you know, anything like that. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Let's work with the Blue Point juniper area and balance that out. All right, guys, let me get my shrubs and let me get the herbs that I have, and let's get things planted. Oh, we're gonna get this onion dug up and put the lovage there. All right, so let's get going. Okay, guys, well, I am back out in the garden. It is a couple of hours later. My camera was low on charge, so I was not able to record the planting of the shrubs. I have not gotten the herbs in ground yet. These are the herbs right here, so I will get to those later. But I did want to run in and charge my camera so I could at least show you what I did do. I got the shrubs planted. I wanted to get that work done before, midday in the hottest part of the day comes out. So here I have a dwarf euonymus shrub that I planted right there. And as I come back, I planted Miss Limonabilia right in here, and let me tell you, this Miss Limonabilia was definitely needed. I centered the shrub with the blue point juniper back there, and I did the same for the dwarf euonymus. There we go. The dwarf euonymus will grow 2 to 3 feet tall, and I think 2 to 3 feet wide, so it is not a very big wide spreading shrub. But I think it is the perfect thing to go in this spot. And the herbs that were right there, I moved them over just a little bit. So the toothache plant is right here. The Mexican tarragon is behind it. I don't know what's up with my yarrow this year. It has just been laying, all of them just laying down instead of standing straight up. So I don't know. But beyond that, you see there is the rudbeckia. And then, of course, the other herbs and flowers are already in the same spot. And I could actually stand to prune that oregano a little more, but I think it looks good. Here's another angle of the shrub. I think that was definitely a good call. And here's another angle of the Miss Limonabilia. This is like just what this back garden needed. Coming this way so you can get an idea of what it will look like from this angle of the walkway. So that is what I did, guys. So we got those spaces filled in. We have this one last space right here in front of this blue point juniper, this empty spot. So I will get another dwarf euonymus and put right in that empty spot there. And I think that is just going to be so perfect as everything matures. Look at that. We've got different shades of greens, some different textures. Just beautiful. Yes, I'm excited. I love having that Miss Limonabilia right there. It's like that punch of color that was so needed. All right, guys. Well, I think that is going to be it for today. It's been a very busy and productive morning, and I thank you for joining me in the garden. We didn't get to the herbs. We will get to those tomorrow, but we got the shrubs in ground. We got the weeds pulled. We have that area cleaned up, refreshed, ready for mulch, and looking good. So, thank you guys for being with me today. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.